Unbelievers will think this story is the product of a frenzied mind, but people who don't believe in God can't think right anyway, so who cares what they think? Because this happened. Right after my husband shot himself and I was 6.5 months pregnant, difficulties began rolling in the way of, in every way. Infestations began, and I'd like to tell you my story of the widow's mites. If you've ever had a bird with those little red mites, these little tiny red spiders, they fill up red with blood. They're actually like transparent looking, but you'll see them red filled with blood. And we got a white bird after my husband died to lift the spirits of the house, and it came from PetSmart, and it was covered in these little red mites, and I didn't know. And their population exploded in our little townhouse. They were everywhere. They were on every surface. They were on all the walls. They were on all the countertops. They were all over the floor. They were everywhere. They were everywhere. And there had been so many other things happening. It was like the book of Job right after he died. But to focus on these mites, the widow's mites, I had a friend. I was pregnant, big and pregnant, and started massaging feet, like reflexology and cleaning houses for work. And I had one client, and he was becoming my friend as well. And I was ending up going over to his house quite often to massage his feet, to clean his house, and we would end up just watching Netflix together and talking and becoming friends. And meanwhile, I had this horrible infestation at home. And I'll skip some details, but basically the war against these mites went on for at least a month. And my older son, I had been praying that he would be spared, and we were sleeping in the same bed, and miraculously, he was not being bitten. Glory be unto the Lord. But I was covered in bites. My bites were getting infected because they itched. It was horrible. Anyway, I was on the Sabbath one day crying to the Lord, because if you have these mites, the best you can do is fight them with chemicals or just clean. So I was trying to get our house to the level of psychopath clean to fight these mites, but the Sabbath came around, and I was like, oh Lord, I'm not supposed to be cleaning on the Sabbath. Can you fight the mites today? And I'll respect the Sabbath. And very clearly, I hear the Lord propose a deal. If you will stop going over to, let's call him Jeff, if you will stop going over to Jeff's house, I will take care of the mites. And I was like, deal, done, because they were so bad. It was such a big nightmare. And as soon as I said deal, done, I felt like 1,000 pounds, maybe not quite that much, but like a measurable weight of mites being lifted out of the house. I could feel them being lifted out of the house. I can't describe how I could feel all of the weight of them being lifted out of the house, but it's something I could perceive. And they were gone. The deal was done. I told Jeff why. He's like, oh, we must not really be friends. I wouldn't have thrown away a friendship over something so small. And I was like, oh, you must have never had these mites infest you this way. So I was like, if you were a friend, you would understand. And that's the story of the widow's mites in my life. But I also really love the story in the Bible, which is where the widow with 2 pennies gives everything she has. And Jesus tells everyone else that her 2 pennies meant more than all of the tithing that they had given, or all the offerings they had given, and all their wealth. So she gave all that she had. So, cool stories.